Good day, students. This is Miss Gahutan, your English teacher. Since we do not have classes for this week, due to the internet maintenance done by different internet providers, let this video be of guide to you for our synchronous session. Let's get started. For our first quarter, we are going to discuss Chapter 1 of Research. Now, the stigma when it comes to research is that many find research intimidating and tedious. There are also discriminatory thinking when it comes to people who dedicate their lives to research or for basically doing research. But, in a nutshell, research is a vital life vein that our community and by extension the world sorely needs. Here are a few reasons why research is important to us. First, gain hands-on experience completing a research or creative project. Work closely with the faculty mentor and have the opportunity to connect with other faculty and other student researchers who work in your area of interest. Earn academic credit, scholarships, stipends, and or other awards for having conducted research. Hone your leadership and teamwork skills as you collaborate with others. Gain academic credentials that will help create a well-rounded resume, publishing your work, and working with a research team. Learn valuable life skills for life and class such as professionalism, time management, learning how to use online research tools. Learn to effectively communicate your ideas and how to analyze and critique the work of others. Assisting in research gives you hands-on experience in your field. Now that you are given the purpose of why we need research, writing it is not that difficult as long as you have a problem you want to solve. The first part of the Chapter 1 in research is the problem and its background. Under the problem and its background is the introduction. It provides background information and set the context of your research paper. This initial part of the introduction prepares the readers for more detailed and specific information that is given later. The first couple of sentences are typically broad. For example, a paper on organic matter in soil can begin thus: Second, the introduction part introduces the specific topic of your research and explain why it is important. As you can see from the above examples, the authors are moving toward presenting the specific topic of their research. A paper on controlling malaria by preventive measures can mention the number of people affected, the number of hours lost, or the cost of treating the disease. A paper on developing crops that require little water can mention the frequency of severe droughts or the decrease in crop production because of droughts. Third, it can mention past attempts to solve the research problem or to answer the research question. For example, although these studies were valuable, they were undertaken when the draft genome sequence had not been available and therefore provide little information on the evolutionary and regulatory mechanisms. Plant response is altered by insect colonization and behavior, but these aspects have been studied mostly in soil crops, whereas the present paper examines the relationship between crops and their pests in an intercropping system. Now, in this example, can you analyze what is the gist of other researches versus the gist of your paper. Fourth, conclude the introduction by mentioning the specific objectives of your research. You can pause this video to analyze the given example. Next is the background of the study after the introduction. The background of the study establishes the context of the research. This section explains why this particular research topic is important and essential to understanding the main aspect of the study. Usually, the background forms the first section of a research article, thesis, and justifies the need for conducting the study and summarizes what the study aims to achieve. In this section, the author usually outlines the historical developments in the literature that led to the current topic of research concisely. If the study is interdisciplinary, it should describe how different disciplines are connected and what aspects of each discipline will be studied. Additionally, authors should briefly highlight the main developments of the research topic and identify the main gaps that need to be addressed. This is very much crucial to the part of the background of the study. Failing to mention the gaps or the main gaps that needs to be addressed by your research will somehow imply that your research is the same with the other researches done in that particular topic. You can use the following guide questions to write your background of the study. Next is the theoretical framework. Theories are formulated to explain, predict, and understand phenomena, and in many cases to challenge and extend existing knowledge within the limits of the critical bounding assumptions. The theoretical framework is the structure that can hold or support a theory of a research study. The theoretical framework introduces and describes the theory, which explains why the research problem under study exists. A theoretical framework consists of concepts together with their definitions and existing theory or theories that are used for your particular study. It must demonstrate an understanding of theories and concepts that are relevant to the topic of your research paper and that will relate it to the broader fields of knowledge in the class you are taking. It is not something that is found readily available in the literature. You must review course readings and pertinent research literature for theories and analytic models that are relevant to the research problem you are investigating. The selection of a theory should depend on its appropriateness, ease of application, and explanatory power. The theoretical framework strengthens the study in the following ways. First, an application statement of theoretical assumptions permits the reader to evaluate them critically. The theoretical framework connects the researcher to existing knowledge. Guided by a relevant theory, you are given a basis for your hypothesis and choice of research methods. Third, articulating the theoretical assumptions of a research study forces you to address questions of why and how. It permits you to move from simply describing a phenomenon observed to generalizing about various aspects of that phenomenon. Fourth, having a theory helps you identify the limits to those generalizations. A theoretical framework specifies which key variables influence a phenomenon of interest. It alerts you to examine how those key variables might differ and under what circumstances. By virtue of its application nature, good theory in the social sciences is of value precisely because it fulfills one primary purpose: to explain the meaning, nature, and challenges of a phenomenon often experienced but unexplained in the world in which we live, so that we may use that knowledge and understanding to act in more informed and effective ways. Next is the conceptual framework. It is used to illustrate what you expect to find through your research, including how the variables you are considering might relate to each other. You should construct one before you actually begin your investigation. Testing research. Whether constructing a conceptual framework will be a helpful exercise depends on the type of research you are doing. Conceptual frameworks are particularly common when the research involves hypothesis testing. In this situation, a framework can be used to review your hypothesis or explore if you can scientifically prove a particular idea. Cause-effect relationship. The basis of testing research and thus the start of constructing a conceptual framework is often a cause-effect relationship. If your dissertation involves this kind of research, your goal is to try to prove such relationship. For example, Ben, a student, gets a perfect 100% on the big exam, which surprises his classmates. However, Ben has a very good explanation. He studied for many hours, the cause, and therefore scored well, the result. Now, try to analyze this example. Variables. The first step in scientifically demonstrating a cause-effect relationship is to map your expectations using a conceptual framework. Before doing so, it's important to identify the relevant variables. Variables are simply the characteristics that the cause-effect relationship is describing. In our example, the two variables are hours of study and exam score. Independent-dependent variables. A cause-effect relationship always involves two types of variables, independent and dependent. In our example, hours of study is the independent variable while exam score is the dependent variable. In other words, exam score depends on hours of study. Cause-effect relationships frequently include several independent variables that affect the dependent variable. Another independent variable that we could add to our example would be enough time to answer all of questions during the exam period. However, to keep things simple, we'll work with just one independent variable, namely the hours of study. Now, how to design conceptual framework. Now that we have identified both an independent variable and dependent variable, we can begin constructing a conceptual framework. The basic design components are boxes, arrows, and lines. Create a box for each variable. Use arrows to indicate cause-effect relationships. Each arrow should start from the variable that has causal influence and point to the variable that is being affected. Use a line when you expect a correlation between two variables, but no cause-effect relationship. Try to draw this on a piece of paper by using the variables identified in the example. These components can be summarized as follows. Component is the meaning, box is the variable, arrow is the causal influence, and the line is the connection. Here is an example of a conceptual framework that represents the relationship between the independent variable of hours of study and the dependent variable of exam scores from our example with Ben. Sample conceptual framework using an independent variable and a dependent variable, and a sample conceptual framework using an independent variable and a dependent variable. A conceptual framework doesn't have to be limited to just independent and dependent variables. Other types of variables can be incorporated as well. Can be moderator variables, mediator variables, control variables, and next steps. Once your conceptual framework is complete, you're ready to start undertaking scientific research that will prove the relationships you have illustrated. You can select from a number of qualitative and quantitative research methods, including literature reviews, interviews, and surveys. There you have it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do not forget to like and share this video and click the subscribe and bell button to get notified with all the latest synchronous classes. Till next time!